to tell you just a little bit about the anthem that the ladies will be singing this morning. Trails of Our Nation is an anthem written for the organization DAR, the Daughters of the American Revolution. These are women who have traced their ancestry back as far as our Revolutionary War in the 1700s and the early 1800s. And that's the reason that we get to celebrate Independence Day. Their ancestors, whether male or female, must have served in our country in some capacity during that conflict. The DAR motto is God, Home, and Country. Its primary focus is on education, historic preservation, and patriotism and community service. Now, I will tell you that I am a member of the chapter in Michigan because that's where my sister Charlotte lived, and she's the one who traced our genealogy. So she pulled me into her chapter, and when we get newsletters sent out to us or just things that they do, they are very actively involved in community service, and a lot of it is something you might not think about. About two Saturdays a month, the call is sent out. Bring your bucket of water and a cloth or a soft sponge, and we are going to be cleaning headstones in such and such cemetery. That's community service, and they do a lot of other things as well. And let me tell you a little bit about the American Heritage Committee. Each year, this committee presents a theme and invites members of the DAR to submit any kind of artwork based on the current theme. This includes visual arts of any type: painting, photography, enhanced photography, drawing, sketching, and others that I don't know about. Arts and crafts could be woodwork, clay modeling, basket weaving, creating a dollhouse, an outdoor scene, or others. Textiles, materials, sewing, it could be period costumes for either a doll or a human-sized costume. Creating quilts, embroidery, knitting, crochet, and other types of working with materials. Literary arts, writing a poem, a short story, or a skit. And there are probably some areas that I'm leaving out. These are just the ones I remember right offhand. And then you can make an entry in musical arts. Well, that's my genre. It can be vocal or instrumental music, or both. It could be for a solo, a duet, or trio. It could be in the style of a march or a folk tune, as long as it follows the rules of a specific music form. And I'm sure the other categories have guidelines that they're supposed to follow in submitting their entry as well. Each entry submitted to the contest has to be emailed in by pictures. Nothing is sent in itself. And it has to have a one-page narrative that explains the materials that were used and, most importantly, how their entry supports the theme, which this year is educating the next generation on our historic American trails. Now, that's a pretty big subject. Just look at all the trails that run across our country. Some are short and some are very long. For example, the Pony Express Trail only lasted about 50 years before the railways started carrying the mail faster. And right here, that little blue line represents the Pony Express Trail. Now, the Lewis and Clark Trail is tan. I'm not going to tell you about all of them. I just want to mention a few. The Lewis and Clark Trail is tan, and it starts at the border of Illinois and Kansas. Right here. And it runs up northwest through the Rocky Mountains and over to the Pacific Ocean. In the eastern states, in blue, is the Appalachian Trail running northeast through the Appalachian Mountains. Also, blue is the North Country Trail that starts over in North Dakota, dips down around the Great Lakes area, and ends up in New England. And this big conglomeration of things right here is what? The Trail of Tears, where the Native Indians were forced marched to the reservations in Oklahoma. Now, another very important trail that is not listed on the map, because it is literally all over the United States, is the Purple Heart Trail. And if you're going south down Highway 1 towards Harrisburg or to the beer store, you will see a sign that says a Purple Heart Trail. They're all over the place. In fact, these are the people in our armed services who have made great sacrifices. Their families have made great sacrifices, and many have made the ultimate sacrifice by giving their life for our country. Now there are Purple Heart cities, so that trail is, it would cover the whole map. We even have trails in Alaska and Hawaii. They're not real long ones, but they're there. Now, so if a person wants to enter this, send in an entry for this, how are they supposed to choose from all of these trails that you see? Well, they could get on a computer and start Googling. If they were still in school, they could take a classroom field trip. There are sons of the American Revolution, children of the American Revolution, so it's not limited to just adults. I suppose you could pack up your family into your SUV or your van and start driving and just pick a trail and drive, or hop on your Harley Davidson and pull your camper along behind you. Well, I'm not going to do all of that, so to make things simple, I decided to focus on the first word of the theme, educating the next generation about the trails of our nation. And I thought, what does it take to educate not only the coming generations, but people now? What does it take to educate them about all these many trails? And you'll hear the answers in the song. You also have the lyrics printed on sheets there if you want to follow along. Not to sing, but just to read the words. I must compliment our wonderful choir. You know how wonderful they are, because they learned this anthem in a pretty short amount of time, and they gave me a lot of support as well, and I appreciate them so much. So. And also, as always, I can't begin to tell you how much assistance, positive criticism, and support my husband Ken gave me throughout this project.
We are so very proud of Ellen for writing this. We think that the music and the words are just beautiful. We hope y'all enjoy it as much as we have.
Time for exploring.
try.